it's going to be challenging because you can't name any other company names or products as you answer this question. But I want you to think back to your start, when you started and what you started with, and what our friends here are starting with, and what's easier about IBUUMERANG than what you started with.
Okay.
It's so spontaneous.
I knew it was going to be you, Spencer. I knew it was going to be you.
We have, Houghton, it's hard to put, if you haven't experienced, it's hard to imagine. Because we have so much. But for most people, if you haven't been through the formulation phase before, you think you only see the problems, right? We already have tools, we already have resources. We obviously have a product, we have new things coming. There are companies that have been around for 5 and 10 years who don't have what we have right now. So when I got started, we barely had a compensation plan. We had a product that was supposed to help you lose weight, we got fatter. There was no leadership, there were no tools. We were making the DVDs. We were making the PowerPoint presentations. And it took months and it took years. There was just a void. There was a void of everything. And so to come into an environment now where we have so many tools, so many resources, but here's where it starts, as I close. Here's where it starts. It starts with leadership. It starts with the leadership. When you have somebody like, and we've heard it throughout the presentation, what I'm good at is this. I'm good at recognizing what works and not messing it up. When you have a Houghton Bugs whose track record is nothing but success, that's just what he does. But then you look at his coaching tree, it's like Bill Belichick from the New England Patriots. Not only has Bill Belichick won Super Bowls, but he's helped coach other people who won Super Bowls themselves. So when we were looking at this, we looked at the individuals who fell from the Houghton Bugs tree. And me and Mr. Green just said, we just have to be a part of that. And that's what we're encouraging each of you all to do. There are many people in the industry right now, Mr. Bugs, who are trying to beat Mr. Bugs, as opposed to just falling in because he's brushing billion-dollar crumbs off the table. I'm just trying to catch my million from the billions he's wiping off.
Thank you, Spencer. Let's have another person tackle that one. What's easier here versus what you started with? Just kind of think back to the beginning.
Well, it's quite similar to what Spencer said. When I started, comparatively here, the leadership is incredible. But there's a little part of it which differs a little bit. So I sat right in the back, as I said, watching people come on the stage, getting recognized. And at that point I was still debating with myself whether I now believe in network marketing or not. But I was just writing down names of those who got recognized at the highest of levels. And I remember that day, I kept asking questions, so who's sponsored this person, who's the mentor, who's the coach of this person? Funny enough, the main name that came up was none other than Mr. Houghton Bugs. So most of the people who were being recognized on the stage on that day were people who had worked with and been coached by Mr. Houghton Bugs. And that's the day that I started watching the 10-minute launch video, which I think is very, very popular and famous in this building and all around the world. So it would be much easier to say what's harder here to could pinpoint, which is probably just the emotion of being able to be surrounded by such leaders like Mr. Houghton Bugs and everyone else here. And it's just incredible.
Absolutely.